Mika Brzezinski of Morning Joe, co-host of the program, daughter of the late Zbigniew Brzezinski, failed national security advisor to former President Jimmy Carter, is exulting in her contention that President Trump has met his match with Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who she compares to Bob Mueller, with whom she views as a savior, someone who is going to deliver the country as she sees the country, her and her deep state cohorts, from the presidency of Donald Trump, before enough Americans wake up to the fact that this is a slow-motion coup. She exults over Nancy Pelosi standing up to Trump by refusing to submit a budget that includes normal and appropriate monies that would go towards securing the southern border, something that Democrats going all the way back to Clinton have talked about doing, but really didn't mean it. President Trump means it, and his request is something that is entirely within the realm of normalcy. If it had been a Democrat, he probably would have gotten it through, although maybe not necessarily, because it goes against the open borders agenda of the far left base of the Democratic Party, and maybe that's why Nancy Pelosi won't do it. But at the same time, Mika Brzezinski doesn't give a damn about those things. She doesn't care about the interests of our nation or the human rights issues associated with the open border down there, with drug trafficking and human trafficking and all of the other horrors that have accumulated on that border. She's interested in one thing and one thing only, and that is to hurt Trump, to defeat Trump. She doesn't care about the country. She just wants a victory against Trump, which is why she's supporting Pelosi's position of not submitting an appropriate budget. President Trump is acting entirely within his constitutional purview as the chief executive by not approving a budget submitted by Congress that does not meet his expectations. He is the elected president. He has a right to do that, and in that case, he's operating in the interest of the American people. Now, if Pelosi and them don't like the Trump budget, then they should put up a candidate for president in 2 years that can defeat Trump and let the people decide. But in the meantime, they have an obligation, not necessarily legal, but certainly moral and ethical, to approve to submit a budget that the president expects, and one that is not unreasonable. I mean, if Trump was asking for some outlandish or unreasonable item, then yes, I suppose that they should not submit it, because that's a balance of power. But $5 billion is not a lot to ask for with regard to securing the national border. And their refusal to do it is a mix between an ideological opposition to an assertion of sovereignty, an assertion of borders, which Pelosi has called immoral, and strictly a political calculation, which is to stop Trump, to hurt Trump. They don't want Trump to have a victory. And if Trump does get his way on this, and I believe he will, then it's going to be a double victory for Trump, because first of all, he will have gotten his budget passed, and he will have gotten his funding. And secondly, because the funding will create a barrier that's going to work, and they know it. And they're terrified over that, because that'll really set the left wing of the party back perhaps a generation. So this is a political struggle. As far as Mika Brzezinski goes, I've been listening and watching her now for a couple of years, and she's just dripping with rage and hatred toward Donald Trump. I don't know if it's something personal or if she's just a lockstep doctrinal left-wing radical who just can't stand what President Trump stands for. And I know that Joe Scarborough used to be a pretty conservative congressman. Something came over him. I don't know if he sold out. I don't know what went on. But he's become just another one of these mandarins of this kind of what President Trump accurately calls the deep state. Now, I'm not saying that they're consciously part of it. They just might know which side the bread's buttered on. They know which side their constituents want, their followers want, their well-paid cable TV personalities. But either way, they don't give a damn about the interests of the country. If they did, then they would get the budget passed with reasonable and normal and appropriate allocations for border funding. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone.